Hello and welcome to Snetterton for our coverage of the Touch of Mojo Mark II Golf GTI Championship and the Super Pro VAG Trophy Championship. Now, it's fair to say that our pit lane isn't normally this busy, but that's because this weekend we're featuring as part of the British GT and the new F4 Championship programme. I'm sure these crowds are going to really enjoy the close and exciting racing we've got in store for them today. Of course, for those drivers who also race in the APR Volkswagen Racing Cup, they've got a very busy day of racing ahead. You're racing in both the VW Cup and the VAG Trophy as well. What's it going to be like for you jumping between the two cars this weekend?
It's going to be quite difficult, but the car I'm racing in the VAG Trophy this weekend is the car that I raced in the Volkswagen Cup last year, so it shouldn't be too dissimilar. It's not the same as my Sirocco that I'm racing in the VW Cup, but I'm sure we'll have good fun.
It's good to be able to get a bit extra track time, because just doing the one you don't actually get that much time on track. So from my point of view, it's good to be able to learn, you know, with a lot of track time. Yesterday I didn't quite go to plan. I ended up coming together with somebody in the first VAG Trophy race, and then the lads were sort of up against it, trying to get the car ready for the for the VW Cup qualifying.
So you're actually racing the same car in both championships. What would you say are the differences between the two championships?
The cars are all pretty much exactly the same. There's quite a few VAG Trophy cars that are ex-VW Cup cars. The VAG Trophy, I think, is just a little bit more cost-effective. You know, if you haven't got quite as large a budget. So, but they're both good championships to be in.
Well, Simon, I think you win the prize for doing the most races this weekend. How many are you doing?
6 races this weekend.
And how many different championships?
3.
Wow, so yeah, that's pretty full on, isn't it?
Just a bit.
So which cars are you in this weekend?
I'm in the Mark V in the VW Cup and the VAG Trophy, and then the 8-valve Mark II in the Mark IIs.
And that car actually has also been raced by somebody else in the team this weekend, isn't it?
Yeah, my friend Craig, he races that in the VAG Trophy, so we get to race each other as well.
We've got a bumper grid of 33 cars starting this Super Pro VAG Trophy Championship race at Snetterton. Now, tricky weather conditions in yesterday's race has resulted in some of the faster cars starting near the back of the grid. One of the drivers to benefit from that is James Dowding, who's starting in 7th place in his Class B car. So it'll be interesting to see how he holds his own amongst the faster Class A cars. And starting on pole position, it's Aaron Mason. He's going to have to push hard if he's going to convert this pole position into his second win of the weekend.
Well, Aaron Mason, though, starting from the right place in pole alongside him on the front row of the grid. He has got Paul Taylor, and we've got Stuart Lyons and Dan Rose on row 2. James Dowding superbly in 7th position, the first of the Class B runners, and such a huge field assembled at this very prestigious meeting supporting the BRDC Formula 4 Championship and British GT Championship. As the red lights come on, the revs begin to rise here at Snetterton, a little bit of creeping, and away we go, and a rocket ship start from second on the grid from Paul Taylor, and he, in the bright red number 1 car, is going to lead the field on towards Richards for the first time. Aaron Mason somewhat being swamped because it looks as if Dan Rose and Ken Lark are both going to try and squeeze through as well. Also well away off the line is the 48 car of Richard Morgan. There is Simon Tomlinson, who's going to get very used to these race starts this weekend. 6 races in all for him, as the gigantic pack accelerate on towards Montreal, running out a little bit wide there. Richard Morgan in the red machine, that brings him into the clutches of Tony Absalom as the rest of the pack all filter through cleanly, and a little bit of door-handle to door-handle action, but everybody safely through the opening exchanges, and some great battles already beginning to form up. Again, Tomlinson just running a little bit wide through Palmer as the rest of the pack all sprint their way on towards Agostini. Steve Rowland just running a little bit wide there, car 14, so Taylor leads. Dan Rose is second in the South, 3rd place the pole sitter. Aaron Mason, we're in car with Len Simpson is ahead of us. Richard Morgan in the red machine going for the move on Tony Absalom as they accelerate on towards Hamilton, and it's Morgan to the inside line, Absalom to the outside, and that's a bit too optimistic. Maybe around he goes. Richard Morgan slithers off the road. Fortunately, it's not rained too much here at Snetterton recently, so he's able to bring the car to a halt. Doesn't make contact with the barrier, but it does give a little bit of a gap in the pack as well. The leading quintet, and the break back to Tony Absalom, who has got Len Simpson, the rest of them all swarming in his tail. So down the Bentley straight then. First time of asking. Paul Taylor pulling clear of Dan Rose. Further behind, it's 3 wide between Ken Lark, Aaron Mason, also Stuart Lyons coming to the mix. It's Lyons in the white and green machine, but it's Lark in the silver Corrado, who comes through in 3rd position. He's then got the blue Golf. of Aaron Mason on 3 wheels. Out of Nelson in 4th position, Stuart Lyons in 5th, all the while the bright red Golf of Paul Taylor pulling clear in what is, as ever, a very, very varied pack in the Super Pro VAG Trophy. It's one of the beauties of this category of racing, that there is such a variety of machinery, and wherever you are in the field you can always find somebody to race with, as Mason gets very, very close to Taylor Lark as they sprint out of Murray's and on to complete the lap. Lark then comes out of Mason's slipstream and should go through here in the Corrado using the straight line speed advantage. Through he goes, gains the place, up into 2nd position then for Ken Lark. Further behind, it's Tony Taylor, one of the Class B runners, bumping and boring across the grass on the exit of Murray's. As this leading group of cars, it's still Paul Taylor clear. The first car you can see in shot is Ken Lark, then in 2nd place in the Corrado, then it's Rose in 3rd, and Mason in 4th, as Mike Smith goes the move on Josh Cahill. Cahill in the red 141 car loses position to Smith through Richards. Pair of them then sprinting on towards the hairpin at Montreal, where Cahill goes back through, and they have got Steve Rowland right on their tail as well. Then further back, it's 3 wide, Tony Taylor, as ever, right in the thick of the action, pushing Nick Sanderson a little bit wide. Back to the leading group, and in particular battle for 3rd as Dan Rose tenaciously holds on to 3rd place from Aaron Mason, who's doing everything he possibly can to get past him. A little bit lonely and sick there for Tony Absalom. As out over the curbs goes Rose. He's pushing very, very hard as they hit the brakes and turn into Oggies as around Agostini. Recovering up through the pack, number 48, Richard Morgan, of course, we saw spinning earlier on from that moment at Hamilton. He's got plenty of traffic to work his way through, as we now see the challenge for the lead along the Bentley Straight, and it's Lark in the Corrado who's going to go through here past Paul Taylor, or does he? Let's see who emerges out from underneath the bridge first. It is Lark who takes the lead. Taylor then into 2nd, but disputing all the while, trying to elevate himself back on up through the pack a little bit. Corner marker gets sent skywards as they sprint on towards the bomb hole through the cambered right-hander and on towards Coram Curve. Red and silver car, Richard Morgan still aiming to continue his climb back up through the field after that early spin. He's in pursuit of Martin Cully in the Beetle. He's ahead of that queue. And we've got Mike Smith, who is very emphatically part of that scrap. He is the blue Golf. In this queue of something like 12 cars. So look for Dave Garnsworthy in the Volkswagen Caddy van at the back of the queue. It's always been the characteristic of Volkswagen racing. They've allowed vans in and they always provide plenty of entertainment. So it's Lark who leads in the Corrado. 2nd place, number 1, Paul Taylor. 3rd, this man, Daniel Rose, who still withstands the challenge of Aaron Mason. Richard Morgan continues his climb on up through the field. Rowland losing the position. Next target is Barry Cully. There is a chance to see Dave Garnsworthy in action, as pulling off the road is Tony Absalom. So it's a real shame for Tony. He is out of proceedings as Paul Taylor just flicks up the grass. He's going to mount a bit here on Lark. He looks the outside line. That's going to be very, very tight as they look to sprint on towards Williams. We're getting very late in the race here, and Taylor trying every which way to pick himself past Ken Lark. He couldn't find a way through. It would appear as if Lark is something of the cork in the bottle here, because they're all backing up in the pack behind him as the leading group of cars all sprint along the Bentley Straight. Tony Taylor, as ever, to be found right in the heart of the action. So Robin Riley in his Scirocco looking to make progress up through the pack. As once more into Montreal, and this time round Aaron Mason giving Paul Taylor a little bit of helping hand, and Lark has opened up a couple of car lengths advantage as Mason and Taylor go side by side on towards Palmer, and Taylor turns across Mason, around he goes, and will he reach the Armco barrier? Yes he does, stumping into the Armco, and Paul Taylor spun out of contention for podium. He should be able to get that car fired up and rejoin, and we are on the last lap of the race through corner for the final time, and the round goes down Rose. Disaster for Rose. Now he gets the car back pointing in the right direction, but through goes Stuart Lyons, who snatches the place at the final turn from Rose. So victory in the Super VAG Trophy for Ken Lark. 2nd place Aaron Mason, and 3rd for Stuart Lyons, 4th for Dan Rose. Race that really kicked off in the late stages, and here is the Class B leader James Dowding, who's going to come through and convert the class pole position to class victory. Lively race that was, very, very entertaining. And let's have a look at the final results with victory for Ken Lark from Aaron Mason, Stuart Lyons and Dan Rose. Paul Taylor eventually recovering for 8th. Very, very creditable 15th position for Class B winner James Dowding, with Rob Allam second in the class in 20th and Steve Rowland was 21st, and he completed the Class B rostrum. So 3 very happy drivers smiling on the podium.
It's another class win for you there. How was that?
Yeah, it was a great race. I got a good start, keeping up with the Class A guys on the first few laps. They started gaining on me after about 2 laps, and yeah, most of them got past me, but I could see in my mirrors I was miles ahead of Class B. So yeah, just keep pushing, stay out of trouble, and I need the signature to go to the next race at Spa anyway, so I needed to finish the race.
Well, congratulations, Ken. This is your first win for a little while, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Me and the old girl did all right. Yeah.
Certainly did, because you had a bit of a dramatic time of it at Cadwell Park, didn't you?
Yeah, we had a nice fireball. Yeah, the back end of the car was burnt. Yeah, so the engine let go in fine style. But we spent a lot of time on it, and it's obviously paid dividends. Maybe I should stop just leaving it in the garage and getting it out, and maybe do some work on it once in a while, because it certainly did do the job today. So I really can't complain about it.
In terms of the championship standings in Class A, it's Josh Cahill who leads the way with just 4 points from Paul Taylor, with Dave Covell in 3rd. Class B, James Dowding almost 20 points clear of Steve Rowland, who's then just a solitary point ahead of Mike Smith. In the overall standings, Dowding leads the way, but then it's very, very tight behind between Cahill, Rowland, Taylor and Smith.
Well, that's it for the racing from the Super Pro VAG Trophy Championship. Do join us though straight after the break for all the racing from the Touch of Mojo Mark II Golf GTI Championship.